Before I tell you why I almost filed for divorce after finding a tiny pink backpack hidden in my husband's car. Before I explain the secret his younger sister revealed that completely changed the way I saw my marriage, I need you to do something small for me. If you've ever loved someone so much that losing them felt impossible, if you've ever looked at the person beside you and wondered whether they were hiding an entire life from you, subscribe to this channel. Because sometimes the truth isn't what destroys a marriage. Sometimes it's the stories we create in our heads while trying to explain what we don't understand. My name is Hannah. I'm 35 years old. And 6 months ago, I became convinced my husband was living a double life. It started with something small, the kind of thing most people would ignore. My husband Ryan and I had been married for 12 years. We weren't perfect, but we were solid. At least I thought we were. Then one Saturday morning, I noticed something strange. Ryan was cleaning his car before sunrise, not unusual by itself. But when I walked outside carrying coffee, he slammed the trunk shut so quickly that it startled me. "You scared me," he laughed nervously. Ryan never got nervous. That was the first crack. The second came 3 days later. He started leaving work early every Wednesday. I only found out because his office called looking for him one afternoon. "He left an hour ago," the receptionist told me. Left an hour ago. Ryan always worked late, always. When I asked him about it that night, he barely looked up from his dinner. "Just running errands." That answer sat in my stomach like a stone. Over the next month, the changes multiplied. Secret phone calls outside. Random cash withdrawals, strange receipts, new passwords, missing hours. Every clue pointed toward the same terrifying conclusion. Another woman. I hated myself for thinking it, but I couldn't stop. One afternoon, while Ryan was in the shower, I opened his car looking for proof. And that's when I found it. A small pink backpack hidden beneath a blanket in the trunk. My hands immediately started shaking. Pink. Covered in cartoon butterflies. Definitely a little girl's backpack. I froze. Ryan and I didn't have children. We had spent years trying. Years, doctors, treatments, heartbreak. Eventually we stopped talking about it because it hurt too much. So why did my husband have a little girl's backpack hidden in his car? I opened it slowly. Inside were crayons, coloring books, a stuffed rabbit, and a birthday card signed simply, "Love you forever." I couldn't breathe. My mind created explanations faster than logic could stop them. A secret daughter, another family, years of lies. That night I barely slept. Every time Ryan touched me, I felt guilty because I was silently building a case against him inside my head. 2 weeks later, things got even worse. Ryan completely forgot our anniversary dinner, 12 years together, and he forgot. I sat alone at a restaurant for 45 minutes waiting for him before driving home in tears. When he finally arrived, he looked exhausted. "I'm sorry," he whispered, but somehow that made me even angrier because people forget anniversaries when their attention belongs somewhere else. Right. The next morning, I called the only person who might know something. Ryan's younger sister, Emily. We had always been close. I expected sympathy, maybe confirmation. Instead, the moment I mentioned the backpack, Emily went completely silent. My heart stopped. "Emily," I whispered, "what aren't you telling me?" Another long silence. Then she sighed heavily. "Hannah, I think Ryan wanted to tell you himself." My entire body went cold. There it was, confirmation, some horrible secret. I sat down because my legs suddenly felt weak. "Tell me," I whispered. Emily's voice cracked before she answered. "Do you remember Lily?" Lily. The name hit me immediately. 6 years earlier, Emily had given birth to a baby girl named Lily, the sweetest little child I'd ever met. But after a devastating custody battle, Lily's father moved across the country with her. We rarely heard updates anymore. "What about Lily?" I asked. Emily started crying, actual crying. "She was diagnosed with leukemia 8 months ago. Everything inside me stopped. I couldn't speak, couldn't think." Emily continued through tears. "Ryan's been visiting her every Wednesday." I stared at the wall in complete silence. "What?" Emily sniffled. "Lily's treatment center is 3 hours away. He didn't want you to know because he remembered how much losing our chance to become parents hurt you. He thought seeing Lily sick would reopen all that pain." Suddenly, every clue crashed together in my mind. The missing hours, the cash withdrawals, the secret calls, the backpack. Ryan wasn't hiding another family. He was helping save one. Emily explained that insurance wasn't covering everything. Ryan had been quietly paying medical bills, driving Lily to appointments, buying toys, sitting beside her hospital bed during chemotherapy sessions for 8 months, alone. My chest physically hurt. I hung up and immediately started crying. Not because Ryan lied, because I had spent weeks believing the worst about a man who had been doing something beautiful. That night I waited for him at home. When he walked through the door, he immediately knew something was different. "Emily told me," I whispered. Ryan froze, completely froze, then he slowly sat down. "I was going to tell you." Tears filled his eyes instantly. I just didn't know how. What happened next shattered me. Ryan reached into his wallet and pulled out a photograph. Lily, bald from treatment, smiling anyway, holding the stuffed rabbit from the backpack. Every time I saw her, Ryan whispered, I kept thinking about the little girl we never got to have. His voice broke completely, and I couldn't bear the thought of making you relive that pain too. I started crying immediately. Because for the first time I understood, the secrecy wasn't betrayal, it was protection, misguided protection maybe, but protection. Ryan had been carrying grief, fear, and responsibility alone because he loved me. We sat on the kitchen floor for almost 2 hours that night talking. Really talking, about loss, about infertility, about the wounds we never fully healed, about how silence had quietly built walls between us. Then Ryan looked at me and said something I'll never forget. The worst part wasn't keeping the secret, he whispered. The worst part was feeling like I had to carry it alone. 3 days later, Ryan took me to meet Lily. I was terrified, but the moment that little girl smiled at me from her hospital bed, something inside me melted. She showed me her coloring books, her stuffed rabbit, her pink backpack. And before we left, she hugged me and whispered, Uncle Ryan talks about you all the time. I cried the entire drive home. Today Lily is cancer-free. Ryan still tears up whenever he talks about her. And every time I see that pink backpack sitting in our guest room closet, I remember how close I came to destroying my marriage because I believed assumptions instead of asking questions. So if someone you love starts acting differently, don't let fear write the ending before you know the whole story. Because sometimes the truth isn't hiding another woman. Sometimes the truth is far more heartbreaking and far more beautiful. And if this story stayed with you even for a moment, subscribe, because the quiet stories are always the ones people remember the longest.